Hello and welcome to Commodity Champions. I'm Manisha Gupta, and the global pandemic has been affecting commodities for a while now, and the one we are discussing on today is jewelry sector. India's jewelry business lost its sheen following the outbreak of COVID, recording a 74% dip in the demand year on year. According to the World Gold Council, this is the lowest quarterly tally, and that was a result of strict lockdowns, declining exports and a shortage of workers. The situation remains similarly bleak globally, where demand has declined 46% as compared to last year. India and China, who account for half of the global gold jewelry consumption, were the biggest contributors to the first half decline. However, the outlook for the sector isn't all that bleak, with deferred Q3 and Q4 wedding festival demand and corporate gifting supporting all that sentiment. Joining me now to take this discussion forward are Rupesh Jain, founder and CEO of Candere, Thimas Printer, the managing director of India Gemological Institute, Vidmay Naini is India Country Manager for eBay, Gaurav Kushwaha of Bluestone Company, and Sunil Nayak is CEO of Reliance Jewels. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. While the numbers clearly have been bleak, the hopes remain on the higher side. Mr. Nayak, I'll start with you. Why don't you summarize the first half of this year, the COVID impact that we've seen on businesses, and where do we stand right now?
I think COVID has affected all of us, and of course, this includes the jewelry industry also. But we as a business has always looked at the long term, and we still feel that as we have weathered all the storms throughout last couple of centuries, we will pass through this also. Of course, the businesses are affected, particularly in the month of April and May. But very happy to share with you that the businesses are coming back, particularly the gold jewelry has started picking up. The affinity of the customer towards the gold jewelry has continued to remain high, and with the prices going up, people still feel that it's the spend on the jewelry is never considered to be an expense. It's always an investment, and I'm sure the way people have got the returns in the past, their expectations still remain high. And I feel that the second half will be much better than the first half, as May has been better than April, June has been better than May, July has been better than
well,
June,
absolutely.
and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but Mr. Nayak, what are the numbers that you're looking at as compared to last year? Because as we speak to various industry captains, and they tell us anywhere between 15 to 45% on the higher side, depending upon which city or state you're talking about.
See, again, as I say, very difficult to predict as of today. The first quarter has been a disaster for everyone. The second quarter has started picking up quite well. But again, very difficult to put any numbers to it. The time only will tell where we are heading to.
Well, as I said, the numbers have been bleak, but the hopes have been high. And we are believing that the demand hasn't gone complete for a destruction, but we perhaps are looking at deferred demand for the best of it. Mr. Jain, this one is to you. And I was I was reading some reports as well. And what we believe in the last couple of months is what we've seen is that almost 70 to 75% of business is now shifted online. That is where the conversions seem to be happening. What are the numbers you're working with?
So, thank you so much, Manisha. You rightly mentioned, since online is still the model where people are still browsing, selecting the jewelry, buying, we are not seeing a downfall with respect to numbers in the jewelry online business. Definitely, quarter one was at par to the last year, and in quarter two, we are seeing some uptick coming in the numbers. So we are still hoping that by the end of this year, we could be able to close somewhere about to 30 to 40% higher than the last year. So that's the number that we are eyeing at. At Candere.com, definitely a lot of technology that we have implemented is helping us a lot. There is a robust mechanism, robust backend that we have built so that the entire vendor management, the integration with the offline Kalyan stores is being more and more stronger for us. And that is really helping the business to scale up. So we are eyeing at 30 to 40% growth this year.
30 to 40% of growth at this point in time. Gaurav, what is your sense on what people really are buying online? Because there have been these questions of not a very high ticket purchase of certain things that people buy online, and for the rest they actually want to go feel, check and then pay. Is that trend changing as well?
Not too much change in the overall buying behavior, Manisha, in terms of people's preference to complete their purchases online of relatively lower price points of almost 40 to 50, of still 40 to 50,000. That is still happening online. And for rest, people are actually using both online and offline. So as a brand, we've always had a very strong online presence. In addition to that, right now we have almost 30 stores as well. So what we have seen in last 3-4 months is, especially after the lockdown has opened, that the stores have started crawling back to almost 60 to 70% of what they were doing last. So that is the kind of recovery that we have seen in the offline stores. Uh, in online, what we've seen is that demand has suddenly picked up, and I think a lot of that has a function of the hard lockdown, as well as a soft lockdown that is in place right now. Uh, so, to put it in perspective, this activity, our online channel grew by almost 4 times, uh, and I think mostly because people had nowhere else to go. So online is seeing a very strong demand. Offline is taking time to get back to normal levels, especially the stores which are in malls. So high street stores are still back to around 60-70%. Malls are taking a lot longer, and I think they will take longer.
Oh, well, yes, these are difficult times, but it's nice to see that the hopes are high and we are looking at those numbers picking up as well. Mr. Naini, this one is to you. It wasn't just about the domestic demand which saw a decline, but the global demand, the export numbers were also on the weaker side. So when you look at the month of July, the second quarter or the first half of this year, it's not very encouraging numbers, whether you look towards US or rest of Asia or Europe for that matter.
Well, Manisha, like my fellow panelists suggested, the online demand continues to be robust. Just to give you guys context, the marketplaces across the globe did not have a hard lockdown. Hence, our sellers continue to see robust demand from our host sites, be it the US market, be it the UK market, or the Australian market. Some of the challenges that we face is more domestically in terms of the logistic solution being a challenge in fulfilling these orders. Whereas, just to give you perspective, we have close to 182 million users across 190 countries that our sellers have access to. And most of our sellers have seen significant, robust demand coming through from the online global markets.
What is your sense on the ticket size here as well, and what geographies, Mr. Naini, would you now be focusing on?
Yeah. So from our point of view, what we do is we sell across price points, right from $5 to $10,000, right from fashion jewelry to fine jewelry to ethnic jewelry. So our spread is pretty diverse. And if you talk about markets for us, we have a very significant and stable business from US and UK markets. Emerging markets is mainland Europe, as well as we are looking forays into the Australian business as well.
And what would you say are the penetration numbers right now for online and numbers? I mean, on year basis, what kind of jump have you seen? And are you keeping those calculations going forward as well, or has COVID made a big dent?
So I think COVID, in fact, has aided online shopping. You know, if you see the recent numbers, specifically from a US market perspective, the online penetration in 3 months is equivalent to the last 3 years of online penetration growth. So from that point of view, US online retail is touching close to 30%. So COVID, like all of us say, has been the real digital transformer. And although keeping the positives of what we can do with our situation,
Absolutely.
I think digital transformation and online growth and penetration has been aided primarily because the consumer has lack of options, whereas online is the only place where the shops are open and the availability of choice is there for the consumer.
Oh, Mr. Naini, I'm 100% with you when you say that online is the way going forward from here. But my question was more from the point of view that we've seen salary cuts, we've seen joblessness coming in. So is the buying in jewelry sector, as in that sense, really on? And do you see those numbers continue to increase that way?
See, I can talk to you from our perspective, from an online jewelry perspective. We've not seen any softness in that. A piece of jewelry sells every 3.7 seconds from Indian sellers to the world. And that number is continuing to increase, primarily because of the fact that we've been focusing on trust, value, selection, and experience. And recently, we've been introduced certification as well. So from that point of view, the captive demand from an online purchase point of view continues. However, we've definitely seen some softness in high ASP tickets. So from the high ASP point of view, the volumes have reduced, but the overall robustness of the market, online marketplace, continues to be in place.
Interesting. Mr. Printer, I saved the best of the question for you for the end. And when you buy online, the question that most people still want answered is about assurances of quality, of purity, of certification. How is that demand being fulfilled?
See, the most important thing, Manisha, when you go online is authentication of the product that you're going to buy. Now, there's so much of fraud happening online, offline, whatever. So, and there's, there's diminishing revenues. So what happens is when a person wants to invest in a piece of jewelry, incidentally, all the panelists are certified by IGI. So eBay has gone worldwide, and see, eBay has taken a stance where all their vendors have to have jewelry which is certified by IGI. So they are ensuring that their consumers are getting the authentic stuff. So we as a certifier have to play our role very diligently and ensure that, you know, what the consumer is getting is a properly IGI certified product. That is point number one. You know? The point number two, what I would like to say is that, you know, when you go on, things are offline right now. Means nobody is able to go to the shops, right? And online has taken a precedence, like Vidmay says, you know, and it has really leapfrogged into the next level. Incidentally, like, you know, people who never were, including me, online, regarding, say, your consumables like vegetables and, you know, your groceries, we all have become so savvy in the last couple of months. You know, it's like, you know, COVID has put a shark in everybody's tank here. You know? So everybody is now, like, you know, finding ways in the challenging times. And personally, I feel that oddly enough, man thrives. This is not my saying, it's a saying by Ron Hubbard. Man thrives oddly enough in the presence of a challenging environment. And that is what is actually happening. I see this period as a period which I don't think will ever come back in our lifetimes, and where there has been a lot of retrospection. And I think the way forward looks very, very good.
Mr. Printer, I totally agree with you on that. Online, as I've been saying from the very beginning of this show, is the way to be. And we've seen yet another sector completely align itself with this. But we'll stop for a very short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the business strategies going forward in the sector, and also how is the festival season looking like after this short break.